Okay, so drawing the vital energy into the body, observing yourself doing it very, very gently, inflating the fascia without using muscle. So from this vital energy state, we release time or slow everything down to move into an astral energy state. So we've done this exercise before. So what I want you to do is, as you move from vital to astral, I want you to mark the feeling of the vital. So the vital is very present, it's in the here and now. And then when you move into the astral state, you sort of go into this fluidic type of trance. And there's a slight displacement of time between the present and that release of time. So this is what gives the slight drunken type of feeling and gives the Tai Chi flavor to when you do the form. That everything's got this slow rate of transformation between the mind, the feeling of the slowed down energy, and the physical present moment. And what we want to do is observe with our mind intent that, okay, here's the present moment of the physical, here's this released layer, and we want to mark it, anchor it. So if we were vital, and we relax and release as we breathe out into the astral, we observe and identify the slower state of awareness, and then we remember it. And we drop to that state repeatedly. So we go back up to the vital as you breathe in, feel the present moment, and then release, slow everything down, and we go back to that state. Now you want to do at least three to 9 breaths on returning back to the same place before you go deeper. And you mentally remember it. And in the act of releasing time, each time you go deeper and deeper and deeper, there's a type of equanimity in your consciousness which allows you to step into that elevator and drop into a different space. So your conductor of consciousness between levels is equanimity. And the mind intent needs to enter into that equanimity and go to the place that you remember. So each time you meditate, you decide, oh, I'm going to practice this frequency, and then you go into equanimity and you put your mental body into that frequency. You activate the physical conditions of the mechanics that are required to fuel that frequency, then you relax into the feeling. And this requires a separation of the observing mind and the intending mind, because the observing mind looks at the whole spectrum and goes, I want to be here. And the intending mind goes, okay, let's go into equanimity, drop to that level while you observe it happen. If the observing mind for one moment disappears, you lose the vibrational scale. You can't go to where you want to go, you just get caught where you are. So you need to be able to look at everywhere that elevator can go with equanimity, everything that's within the possibility of your mind, and then your intention takes you there through equanimity. But the two layers of consciousness have to be separated. The observing mind and the intending mind have to be pulled apart for that to work. So all alchemy is dependent upon that. You have to be aware of where you are and where you want to be, and then how to relax yourself into that space with the intending mind, while the observing mind carries you there through equanimity. It's a relationship, these two qualities. If you're in the astral and you want to go deeper into the astral, it's almost as if you're fighting yourself if the observing mind isn't in place. The observing mind has to see where you want to relax to take you there. So the intending mind can bridge that gap. So the separation of the yin-yang of the mind creates the platform of everything in hermetics. You master this, you have accessibility to all these levels. If you don't master it, you sort of get stuck where you are and you can't move, because your observing and intending mind is occupying the same space. So the greater the separation, and the first exercise we did of vital breathing and using the observing mind to watch muscle tension arise while you vital breathe and drop the muscle tension off is a good preliminary exercise, because it not only makes your energy work and your releasing of the body so much easier, it creates a good contrast for those two parts of your mind. So now, as we breathe in vitally, you relax and release time, and you drop into a deeper astral feeling as everything slows down. Just mentally note that place. You have to develop a memory for remembering feelings. And when you remember the feeling, you can come back to the vital and go, oh, I remember that feeling. You just drop your mind into it. It's like you hop in the elevator and there's equanimity which allows you to access it. And then from that equanimity, you go straight into that feeling. Now we want to log in hundreds and hundreds of feelings. So all these different types of vibrational places. Every time you have a meditation where you have a peak, you have to anchor it. Write in your journal where, when, describe the qualities, give that particular experience a frequency and name. If it came from a particular deity or an individual, you write it down, and then you remember how to access it. So you can put yourself in equanimity, observe it, and then just let your intent move into that state. If you haven't got the observing and the equanimity, then the intention can't move through. So this is a super important exercise. There are some exercises that you can get away with not putting much attention to, and there's some that the whole path is dependent upon it. This is one of those skills. Everything you do in alchemy and meditation is dependent on this one skill. If you want to move forward, you've got to separate the two parts of the mind, enter equanimity, and move. And this regulates your growth development in meditation and qigong and any metaphysical area of development. Okay, so jump between vital and astral and get used to marking that astral feeling. Repeat it 3, 6, 9 times, and then enter equanimity and just jump there. So instead of going vital now, I release time slowly, I rhythmically move through the astral space until, boom, I'm in that place. I remember it and go, oh, I remember that place. Equanimity, boom, I'm there. So I jump the linear path of releasing time, and I just remember, and I put my mind in that state. Now, when you put your mind in that state, there's the mental frequency of remembering, there's that state. There's the body mechanics that your body was expressing when you were in that state, and you put those two together and the feeling of that state arises. And it's through the equanimity door you can re-access the experience. So if you meet a Lama that's got, or Arahant that's got incredible compassion or metta, and he's emanating that field, and he spent decades developing that skill set, first thing you have to do is mentally remember that space. And the second thing you do, what are the mechanics you have in your body when you feel it? How does your body mechanically emulate and allow yourself to feel it? So you put your mind there, you put your mechanics there, and then you just go into equanimity and you pull your feeling into that space, and then you've got your 3 dantians aligned to that frequency, and then you just amplify the mechanics, amplify the feeling, create more space, and you get more of that frequency. So you'll be a conductor of metta. If the body mechanics isn't there, your engine can't fuel the frequency. That means only your mental body can re-experience it. It'll be like going into a memory and dwelling within the mental memory of it, and you'll have a little bit of astral ignition of it, and it'll be, wow, that's nice, but it won't be the same power that the Arahant was producing. There's always this mechanical thing in your physical body that you need to go to. And that's what will control the amount of power that frequency has over people and the environment or whatever that person's doing. It's something inside that person's body. So if you tune into the mechanics, and if it's metta, it's got a holding a baby frequency. It's got this pulling open of the joints. It's protective, it's loving, it's caring, it has a maternal type of vibe to it. And it's got a vibrational scale from the personified maternal type of family love all the way to the universal. And every one of those stages has a body mechanic inside of it. So you've got to identify what is the body mechanic of that energy, because that's where it's going to be fueled from. And it's always got one. You know, a lot of people don't even realize the energy they're producing is mechanical, but they're doing a mechanic. They're just empathic and they tune into it. Oh, this feels good. But you look at their body, they're doing something. And you have to identify those mechanisms and feel them. So your mind can tune into the feeling, and then your mechanics tune into the feeling, and they meet in the middle, and you're an engine for that feeling. And the only way to do this is equanimity and separating the observing, intending mind. And this allows you to replicate any skill that anyone else has got. You can't produce it as strongly as that Lama or Arhan has been doing it in the cave for 10 years, wherever he developed that skill. But you can reproduce it, because your body just completely surrenders to that mechanic. Your mind surrenders to the frequency. The two intermingle in the astral, and the engine switches on, and you produce that energy. Then it's just a matter of, okay, I've got to get my body aligning to this more, and producing more, and refine my mind's attention to making my attention 100% that frequency. So if something feels really weak, it's because only a small part of your mind is paying attention to that, and the rest of your mind is paying attention to something else. So if 10% of your mind is focused on the frequency, it's not very strong. 100% of your mind is focused on the frequency. It's a very strong experience. So very often it's just a perception problem, that the yi isn't 100% on the frequency that you want to work with. And then the three dantians always is there. Mechanics, put your mind in the right place, and the mechanics and the mind come together to form the feeling, and then you generate the feeling of the frequency. So whether you're doing a low energy on, let's say, vital, close to the physical, your mind is tuned to vital, your body mechanics are tuned to vital, and then the feeling arises. So that's three dantians on that level. Now you can have three dantians on right on the top end as well. You tune your mind to a high jhanic state, and let's say akasha. What is the body mechanics of akasha? The drunken body to dissolve any tensions on your mental matrix, and you simulate that timeless, spaceless requirement that your physical body has to go through, and then you draw that in, and the akasha feeling arises. And then you can emulate the akasha. If you put your mind in akasha and you don't let the boundaries of your body dissolve, your mind can be there, but you can't bring it into the body, you can't bring it into your astral feeling. So it'll be stuck. So this way that you tune the body and the mind together to produce the feeling alchemically in the middle, this produces the fabric of all your growth. So the separation of the intending mind, the observing mind, and the equanimity that the intending mind goes into to access the frequency that you want to work on, this sets up your platform. And there's no level that doesn't have a mechanical reflection. Even Nibbana has a mechanical reflection. Everything has something of the body. It's in the body. There's lots of sutras that talk about Nibbana being a physical thing. It's physically present in your body. And this applies to every level below it. There's a physical mechanic. And you want to really look at everything in the context of those mechanics. Okay, so jump into that. 3, 6 or 9 breaths into an astral space. Anchor it, and then practice just accessing it through equanimity and not having to actually astral breathe.